Good to go.
Okay, right. Well, good morning, everybody. Hello, and thanks for joining us today for the Hilton Foods Challenge. I don't know if you're familiar with Hilton Foods, but it will be celebrating a 30th year this year, I think. And you're dealing with a company that has an Irish provenance, and yet it's a multinational, and it's quite a significant company with a 3 billion turnover. Um, so the Hilton and the Innovation Exchange have been meeting up for a while now, and the plan is to have a series of challenges going forward. The Hilton team is led by John McLaughlin, who's head of continuous improvement at Hilton, and John will present today's challenge and has a range of slides. It's an exciting challenge, quite specialist in terms of the specific requirement, but ultimately, look, it's a problem to be solved, and we have many good problem solvers on board in the exchange. So we look forward to a good Q&A session. And given that there will be other challenges from Hilton, it's also an opportunity to get to know Hilton Foods with an eye toward the future. So do please let us know your thoughts on today's challenge. On that note, can I ask that if you have a question or a comment, I think the easiest thing we've seen with experience is just maybe enter your name in the chat function and we'll come around to you sequentially. That's a suggestion, but of course, so look, if you raise your hand, we'll be looking for that as well. Right, I'm going to hand over to John and take it away, John, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, and really nice to be on the Innovation Exchange, and thanks to everybody for facilitating it and inviting Hilton Foods into this process. So I can't see everybody on the screen, but really nice to see everybody, and hopefully some people can help us with our challenge. So just to introduce myself first, and I have a couple of slides, but as you just said, my name is John McLaughlin. I've worked for Hilton Foods for almost, well, just over 20 years. My background actually was in electronics business, but I moved to food, and I've worked in various roles from the MD of Ireland, the MD of UK, and my current role is the continuous improvement, in continuous improvement for the group, head of continuous improvement for the group. So the challenge that we have is around about manual handling, and it's a problem that I guess is facing the industry all over, especially coming from traditional factory setup and layouts. And when this factory was built 20 years ago, I guess there wasn't automation there that maybe might help. Some of our newer factories now have automation and don't have that manual handling, but they also have the scales that they can invest huge amount of money and build the sites to facilitate robotics, etc. So we have a particular challenge being a small enough factory and trying to retrofit systems into it. So the slides I have anyway will give some more information on that, and I'll just go right through them now, if that's okay.
All good, John. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So if we look on just these presentation. Okay. So firstly, I suppose on to give some company introduction on Hilton Foods, the site that we're talking about, the problem, is located in Drogheda, County Louth. It's one of 24 sites in Hilton Foods worldwide. Now, Hilton Foods was set up by two families. One of them was an Irish family from the north of Ireland called Robert Watson, was the CEO and is the chairman of the group now. And the other family was an English family. And it was set up back in 1993, I think, to service Tesco in the UK, but has grown to be a multinational, has floated on the stock exchange, and services most retailers, a lot of large retailers around the world, from Albert Heijn to Countdown, Woolworths in Australia, and most recently has has signed an agreement with Walmart in Canada. So a very explosive business in the last 20 years in terms of growth. In the site in Ireland is probably one of the smaller factories, as I mentioned earlier. And the reason for that is that we're servicing a population of about 5 million people, as opposed to the site in the UK is servicing a population of 60 million, and likewise as we go across the globe. So it makes the footprint of the factory here fairly small and probably fairly complex and a little bit more manual than some of the other factories. We've approximately 280 employees at the moment, and hoping to expand that in the next year as well. It's a food processing facility specializing in retail protein products for Tesco, NI, Tesco, ROI, and Dunnes Stores. So effectively, we have 3 customers, and the reason we'd split Tesco, NI, and ROI is that it's 2 different currencies and it's 2 different origins of meat. So the meat from Northern Ireland comes in from the north and goes back to the north, because provenance is very important to customers. So when we say retail products, then it's retail packed products. So mince, steaks, rashers, sausages. So anything, if you walk into Tesco is our core customer. So if you walk into a Tesco, all of the meat on the Tesco shelves come from this factory. We do, for Dunnes, we do a range of products as well, but it's mostly confined to rashers and bacon joints for the moment. All finished product is stored in Tesco or Dunnes crates. And these crates, and I have some photos of the crates later on in some of the slides. These crates are a standard crate dimension, and you probably see them. Strangely enough, there seems to be one in every garage and every boot of a lot of cars around Ireland and vans. But you'll recognise them when you see them, and they're a standard crate that are used as a pool crate throughout all. A lot of, well, maybe not all, but definitely a lot of big suppliers in Ireland and the UK. And this is a pool crate that's owned by a separate company, and there's a rental charge used every time one of those crates pass through our facility. I've then put or shelf ready packaging because this is something that's changing a little bit in the retail industry. A lot of retailers now are looking for a shelf ready, like a cardboard box with your product in it that they can just tear it and tear the top off it and place it on the shelf, so the products don't have to be merchandised. So I also have some photographs of that later on as well. So there are really only 2 core formats that we handle in our warehouse. Incidentally, our warehouse is automated, so the product is stored in an automated warehouse and shipped out. Apologies, I did turn off one phone, but turn off the other one. Okay, so then the problem statement for warehouse dispatch then. So our problem statement is that building pallets of finished goods for shipping is entirely manual. A solution is required to ease the manual handling element while remaining efficient. So this is important that while remaining efficient, because we know that probably the way pallets are built at the minute by manual handling is probably the fastest way of doing it and the most flexible way of doing it, but it's not the safest. And it's probably not the most durable for the long term. So we're looking for a solution for this. So I tried to just frame the problem statement into 2 sentences. So that's it. So to try and not to try and steer the solution in any way, because I'm not the expert on what the solution should be, and hopefully somebody on the call will be, but it's not the first time we've looked at this, and I really think that a solution could fall into 3 possible areas, but that's my opinion. So apologies if I'm framing that, but I'm just trying to give as much context as possible. So the first solution could be an automated system, a fully automated system. So a robot that will build pallets. And actually, some of our sister factories have these. The second solution could be a semi-automated system. And we see these a lot in suction systems for lifting bags of flour, for example, or bags of rice. And they seem to work really well, and they seem to be a really good system. And the third one may be a safety support device for operatives. So that one might be a little bit out there, but I have seen on LinkedIn. I haven't followed it up now, but I have seen on LinkedIn like ecoskeletons that people are using to lift heavy weights, or I really don't know what's out there in that area, but I know that there are lifting devices that can assist operatives, that leaves a high degree of flexibility in there. So, as I said, without steering the solution in any way, there might be a fourth, or there might even be a fifth. But just in the investigations I've done so far, they seem to be the three areas. And a slide further on, I'll expand on them a little bit to give you the pros and cons on those, on what we've seen so far, to try and give everybody the best context. So there are two images of the warehouse area that we're talking about, and in this warehouse area, we see there's an automated warehouse. Sorry, is my cursor shown on the screen, just out of interest, Rachel? Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah. So there's the other side of this wall here. There's an automated warehouse, and crates come out on this belt. So every single crate dispatched from the factory comes out on this belt, and they're manually lifted onto crates, or sorry, onto pallets and stacked. So those crates can weigh anything from about 2 kilos to about 12 kilos, 12 or 15 kilos, depending on the product that's inside them. And the guys in dispatch that build them pallets, if they're doing that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, are lifting a lot of weight over the period of the week. So this isn't so much about the actual weight that they're lifting. It's more about the repetitiveness and the quantity over time, and that they're weight that they're lifting. When the pallet is filled with crates, each barcode is scanned. The pallet is then wrapped, and it's put on a truck. There are boxes that I've mentioned earlier that are also lifted in this. So I have a little bit of video that I can show to give more context to this, if these frames don't give enough of a picture. But in this dispatch area as well, there's probably a free area of around about 2.5 by 2.5 meters. So it's not a very big area in terms of trying to build something around it. But there's a good high ceiling on it for semi-automatic type systems on it. There's space for if there was an arm or a frame to be put in to help with them. And these, even though these green crates are of different heights, the dimension or the footprint of them is the same height, is exactly the same, and the handles on them are in the same areas. So there's a degree of standardization around that. And the Duns ones are they're Tesco crates. The Duns ones are the same, except they're black, but they're the same footprint as well. So that's just some images to give a little bit of context. If at the end of this we'd like a little bit more context, I do have some more video. I do have some video that we can show. Okay, so going back then to the solution that could fall into 3 possible areas, which again is an opinion, and really to kind of cut through any previous investigations that have been done. I've just put some pros and cons. So an automated system, an automated system, a fully automated system, which is a robot that will pick and store and build pallets. We probably don't have enough space for that. And the reason I know that is that I've seen them in our sister factories, and they build them in new factories, and they take a huge amount of space. The other thing about them is that they cannot handle both crates and boxes. They are very, very specific in what they can do, and they're not easily interchangeable. And anybody that's worked with robotics will know that anything with robotics is a lot easier if it's fully standardized and taking the same product and size of product every time. We also know that they're very expensive. But on the pro of that a system, if there was an automated system that could fit in, there's a possibility that could actually remove headcount and significant cost, and the capex would stack up for that. So I certainly wouldn't rule out an automated system, but the first three points are difficult. But if we could find an automated system that would remove headcount and cost, that would be fantastic. The second, then, the semi-automated system, then the semi-automated system needs to be very flexible. And what I mean by that is to be able to reach the different areas of the pallets and be able to stack a pallet up high. It could possibly only handle crates, and boxes could be manually built. So that would be an option for us, that if it could only handle crates and could be moved out of the way easily, that the boxes can be manually built. We definitely could work with that. It would be likely to slow the process down, a semi-automated system, because the length of time it takes somebody to lift something off the belt that was shown and put on a pallet. A semi-automated system would be unlikely to do that as quick. Okay, it would do it a lot safer, but it would be unlikely to do it quick. But even if it slowed the process down, we still might be able to work with that, because in a lot of times we see that our operatives are building a crate as fast as they can and then standing and waiting for a little bit of time, and that's to do with habit more than anything else. So even if it slowed the process down, and on the next slide I have some stats to show the speeds that will be required. And in a semi-automated system, so then on a positive system, it would more likely to be very cost effective, because it wouldn't be as expensive as a fully automated system. And then the last one, then, is a safety support device for operatives. I don't really have any pros and cons of that, because I haven't seen any applications or any, apart from on LinkedIn, as I said, some eco skeletons to support people, but I don't know if they're actually available, or if they work, or if they would be even pass safety standards to allow people to use them. So I don't really know what's out there, but I'm just kind of throwing that out. So there's some pros and cons, but again, they're just my opinions. Again, there might be far more expertise in the call that would know more about that. Okay, then looking at some stats, and I can share this detail just to give some statistics of what would be required. Oh, sorry. I clicked that too quickly. Yeah, so on stats, the Tesco crate size and variance there, we would see that the lengths and widths, i.e. the footprint, are all the same and similar to Dunn's. There are some depth differences, and those depth differences are to do with the amount it's really just shallow crates or deep crates that would take more product. In the weight ranges of the crates, the minimum and maximum weights are there. But also then it's just important to put a stack in as well, because not all the crates are lifted in single items. Some of them, the operatives generally lift them in stacks, and the solution might want to lift them in stacks because it's a less amount of travel if you can lift 2 or 4 crates at a time as opposed to one every time. So so in terms of the stacks, the minimum stack that somebody would lift would be 1 crate at about 2 kilos. The maximum someone could lift would be 4 crates, but a person wouldn't lift that. But if a solution was available, they could lift up to 66 kilo, and a similar weight on a blue handle crate. In terms of speed requirement, we'd be looking to lift approximately 14 crates per minute. Sorry, and that should read 1 every 3.5 seconds. So 14 crates a minute would build pallets at the speed we would require at our peak times, and our peak times would be Christmas production, etc. And then the space available to build something would be approximately 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters. So that's the space we would have to work with in terms of free space. So there's some statistics. They may not be all the statistics that somebody would need to scope this task if they were to accept the challenge. But I can provide any more statistics and detail that anybody would require. But that would be to start with. So that's the last slide, but I might, if you'd agree, Rachel, I might put up a little bit of video to give a bit more context that we looked at earlier on, if that would be okay, because I think it's the photos probably don't tell the full story. So would you be okay to do that? Yeah. Okay. Just 1 second. So just okay. So that one was boxes that were being stacked, and they're not overly heavy, those boxes. You see that they are contained in the green crates as well, because we need to transport through a warehouse in the green crates. But that's one format of building the pallet. But the second format is the crates, which are probably the more difficult one. So I'll just show that one. Sorry, just showing.
Right,
Okay,
John.
so
Yeah.
that might give a little bit of context just for more, but I can go back and show any of them slides that are required.
Well, it's very good to have such an animated view of it. In the previous, from the warehousing side then, John, is there, that's where the automated picking is done, and it's kind of blind from then on. Nobody knows what weight is going to be contained in a particular crate.
No, that's right. They don't know what weight, just from experience and from being able to see into the crate. Obviously, they can see into it on the belt and they know heavy products from light product. But you're right, there's no indication when it comes out of what the weight is in it.
That must be why all those very fit people live around Drogheda and Dundalk. Is that it? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The guys, they're definitely very fit, those guys that work out there. And it is a challenge to get people that are willing to do that, and I mean that in the greatest compliment to them,
Yes.
because they work hard there. Some of them wear weightlifting belts around them to give back support if they want to wear them. We'll supply them. Some of them don't. But yeah, it's tough.
It sounds like there's a great opportunity here for a standalone system. I mean, there doesn't appear to be much need for integration with anything else in terms of, continuing a process flow from the automated warehousing side. This can be standalone. Is that your own view of it?
Yeah, definitely. It can be standalone. Like it doesn't need to integrate with any computer systems or anything because the product is scanned manually with a hand scanner before it's shipped. And the guys call out they're actually calling the product on a computer screen in sequence that they want it. So to build orders.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely standalone. Um, and I just again reiterate that even if it's to not eliminate the risk of manual handling, but if we're to lower the risk of manual handling, whatever system would be here, would be open to it. So we'll be open to all aspects to helping this, whether eliminate the risk or reduce it.
So look, before we kind of hand over to the Q&A session, just some kind of thought that would occur to me if I was, a company that was familiar with process automation and had developed a range of partnerships. I was aware of companies that specialized in some aspects of this. Well, then I think there is an opportunity for, say, some degree of systems and robotics in combination. And I think, what the Innovation Exchange will be doing is to encourage people to look for partners or to propose a part of the solution that needs to link with something else, but you would need to specify what the other piece is. On that note, and we've talked, John, about trying to have responses back within the next 2 weeks. So, if people think that's reasonable, or if you think that you have a partnership that may take a bit longer, let us know, please. I think what we want to do is, here's a problem. It's local, and local ingenuity can solve it, hopefully. So now over to the members of the Innovation Exchange, and let's hear from you, please, if you have questions or if you need further clarification. Do we have questions coming into the chat?
Just yet.
Okay. Well, I think you have you've probably set an awful lot of brain cells burning there, John.
Well, that's all. Well, either the presentation was ultra clear or the challenge is it's frightening people. I don't know which it is, but anyway, not to
John,
worry.
can I just ask one question? You mentioned one of the benefits was around sort of freeing up people's time and maybe, alleviating some of the headcount there. How many people are currently sort of working that operation at the moment?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good question. There's 8 people currently working in that operation.
Okay.
Over a 6-day period. And they kind of rotate the lifting. So maybe in the video there you would have seen one person's calling the product out, scanning the pallet and wrapping, while there's another person lifting. So there's 8 people working there, and out of them, I suppose there would be an opportunity to take out maybe 4 of them and still having somebody there to run the area. So I think probably it's a really good question, and it's probably leading on to, what sort of CapEx would be if you were to eliminate headcount out there. I suppose 4 people at an average of all in maybe 40K a year, that's 160 a year by over 5 years. There's probably maybe a 200 or 300K for a fully automated system that would work. There's probably a 200 or 300K CapEx there that would be
that would make sense for that. Yeah. Okay. Along with the other benefits that you talked about as well, which would be good. Yeah.
The safety, yeah.
And there are what you have seen in other places, you're saying, is very, very large, John, and wouldn't fit in the space. Have you seen any of you mentioned the exoskeleton arms, stuff like that, just a reinforced arm that can be programmed. So are you seeing any penetration of that, or is that still regarded as a bit futuristic?
Yeah, no, just futuristic. I haven't seen it in any of the Hilton sites. I've only seen it on LinkedIn, and we see various things in that. But as I said, the Hilton factories, the typical footprint of a lot of the large Hilton factories might be 2 or 3 times the size of this. Like if we took, for example, our factory in Denmark, all of this is fully automated, but that's the way it was built to start with, and it was built probably 10 years after this factory with a lot more technology available at the time. So it's definitely out there in Hilton. I guess it's a question, why aren't we using the power of Hilton to do, and the network of Hilton? And I'm not saying we're kind of forgotten away in the fringes of Europe, but it's really just that we're a small factory, and their focus is on large, fully automated factories, not small, flexible ones,
Right. So we were looking at the potential CapEx. In terms of timeline, when would you like to be, kind of up and running with a system, or would you be envisaging a trial period as well? So what do you think in terms, just off the top of your head?
I've kind of been looking at this problem for now, not seriously, but it's been on my mind for over a year now. So I'm not expecting that we get anything immediately. But if we were to like put it this way, if there was a semi-automated or a safety device that was going to cost 50K or something like that, you know what I mean? It could probably be signed off in a week. If it was going to work. If it was a 300K capex project, it would have to go through the full rigors, and could take a couple of months. But in terms of if anybody has a solution, it's kind of as soon as it's not a burning platform that by the 1st of June we have to comply to something in particular, or there's new guidelines or anything like that. This is something that we're just really trying to find a solution to improve and take the manual handling out. So I guess to answer your question, that if somebody has a solution and would like to engage in the next 2 weeks, that would.
Okay, yeah. I think John may have frozen there. Rachel, can you hear me then?
Yeah. Still on the call, but just seems to have dropped off there.
I need to continue to search elsewhere, you know. So if that was a month or I would say a month would be fine.
No, sorry, that'd be a month to have,
Proposal.
say, oh, okay, right, yeah. Okay, well, there don't seem to be questions coming in. I think what we're going to have to do is to wait in suspense to see what consortiums or partnerships are going to be proposed. And I think that's probably what's on the minds of some of the members, because it does begin to look like a crowded in solution, you know, that it might be one or two parties proposing a solution.
We have a question in from Jason in the chat. Jason McLaughlin, if you want to come on and ask your question.
Thanks, Rachel. John, I was just wondering, would it be possible to get to organize a site visit just to get a better understanding of the limitations around the area? Because there is some solutions around robotics and AVGs and stuff that could actually work for you, but it would be better to get an idea on site if that was something you could organize.
Yeah, Jason, no problem at all. No problem to come down and see. You're right. If there's nothing like seeing the area and scoping it out properly. But yeah, no problem at all.
Sorry, I didn't realize I had my camera off. Yeah, no, that's great. I might reach out to you then direct, and we could organize something.
Yeah, excellent. That'd be
Lovely.
great.
Okay, great stuff. Thank you very much.
Well, I think just, Jason, it's a great question, and thank you for it. If there are other people that may want to do that, then I think rather than John having to do sequential visits, we would try and group them together. So if anybody does want to visit the facility, also do please let us know. But thanks, Jason, very good suggestion. Okay.
Yeah, I've no problem doing it. If it's not many, I don't mind doing 2 or 3 individuals if it gives you a better, let's say, service to the problem, you know.
Okay, that's great, John. No, thanks a million. Rachel, I'm not seeing any questions at all in the chat.
No, there's no more in there at the moment.
Okay, well, look, rather than hold everybody up, I know people have other things to be doing. So I think, John, it has been a very clear presentation. I think that's why there are very few questions, and thank you very much for it. So for the moment, we'll hold to the 10 days or a fortnight response time for your submissions. As I said, if you feel you have something special and you need longer, let us know or make that part of your submission. And on that note, unless there's any other comments from anybody, I think we'll close it there for today. But thank you everybody for attending, and look forward to talking more about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for attending, and thanks to everybody from the Innovation Exchange to allowing us to present. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.